All right, y'all. Let's talk movies. All Quiet on the Western Front. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this is probably the best film of 2022 that I saw, anyways. I just saw it, but I'm talking about a film that came out last year. If you want my recommendation for a film that's worth watching, watch this movie. Plain and simple. In fact, when I think about the best movies I saw that came out last year, um, Top Gun Maverick, which was okay. I mean, again, it was just a good movie in the moment. I didn't think it was anything worth going back to. I've not had the desire to go back to it or check it out necessarily. It's just a standard Bruckheimer type of decent film, but to be fair, almost like the type of film that was made in a bygone era where people actually wrote stuff down and didn't just film the first thing that came to their heads. So I like that movie. I liked Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I didn't think it was like necessarily an amazing film, but I did like the Mesoamerican aspect of it. I thought that stuff was really cool. Just interesting, like the costumes and even like the little sign that the dude does. I think that stuff's powerful, man. That stuff's cool. The film itself was okay. So I guess overall, I would say that out of that bunch, I would now add All Quiet on the Western Front. In fact, maybe this comes at the top. Great movie. You got to watch it. I think it's a very important movie. It's actually kind of funny to me now that I think about it. This should have easily won Best Picture. I mean, to me, of the nominees. Let me check the nominees real quick for Best Picture. But this is a way better movie than Everything Everywhere All at Once, without a doubt. So I'm trying to see what the lists were. I don't remember what else was nominated for Best Picture. So Top Gun was nominated, which is not Best Picture material, in my opinion. The Banshees, definitely not. That was not a good movie. Everything Ever All at Once, you already know how I feel about that. That was straight trash. The Fablemans, I personally couldn't get through The Fablemans. You tell me if y'all watched it. I couldn't get through it. Tar, couldn't get through that. All Quiet on the Western Front, yeah. And Elvis, didn't watch. Don't really have any interest in seeing Elvis's story, respectfully. And then Avatar, no. So, yeah, I would say that All Quiet, in my opinion, should have won. Easy. In fact, what I think is interesting is that it shows me just how much these awards are bought. Because if we're really being honest here as film critiquers and watchers and people who really know film and stuff like that and study stuff, All Quiet on the Western Front is just a better film than all of these movies. Okay? The ones I mentioned. Let's be honest, it's a serious film. It's exactly the kind of thing that the Oscars should highlight. A serious, dramatic film that's actually worth watching and has a great message. But because it's a German international film, and they didn't spend probably many millions of dollars that A24 has spent to get that Best Picture award, it's not going to get highlighted because it's not made within the North American system, essentially, right? It's a foreign film. And this is part of the bullshit. Listen, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand it on some level. You got to protect home turf, okay? Oscars are home turf, right? So it's like, yo, our shit is the best shit. Everything else is cool. We'll acknowledge it just to show that at least we're not closed-minded. But real talk, we give the awards to our own countrymen, right? I get it, but I can see right through that shit, okay? At the end of the day, when you're talking about real quality entertainment, stuff that makes you think, not just like sitting there like thinking like, jerk off, pretentious bullshit. I'm talking about like a real thought, okay, about something that's important. Like, for example, war, the nature of war, what war does to human beings, right? And makes you feel, right? Think and feel. That's the strongest material. And All Quiet on the Western Front absolutely succeeds on that, okay? And to be honest with you, it's rare that I see a movie that actually hits on both levels. You know what I'm saying? That used to be more common, but now, because we're in the age of pandering and bullshit, most movies don't even make me think at all, and I certainly don't feel anything, which is actually even the bigger problem. in terms of like material that obviously I think is really strong, I thought this was a really strong movie. Like I said, I've always put Squid Game up there. Squid Game does not come from the North American system. These are people outside of the North American system who are making real ass movies. Because I think for whatever reason, man, people in the U.S. and that sort of and in Canada too. In fact, Canada might even be worse in this. I actually, in fact, I would say Canada is worse in this regard. But people in North America, and I'm talking about US and Canada, they like frivolous bullshit. Like, if you really sit and think about, like, a lot of these films that they put up on pedestals and TV shows, they're frivolous, okay? You're not about nothing. They don't come from no real emotional, like, something serious that you gotta, like, really, like, check for and go, like, oh my God, that's really, like, an intellectual, I see the message, the real point of what you're doing, something artistic. It's all frivolous bullshit, and they'll give it awards. So, I think, to be honest with you, the more I start to like dig into like international stuff to a certain extent, whether it be TV and things like that, the more I'm like surprised at just how like there's stuff being made out here, man. I don't necessarily say that all the international stuff is great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's the case either. But what I am trying to say is that don't sleep on foreign stuff because there's some great stuff out here. Now, All Quiet on the Western Front, I will say I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Why? I mean, I'm nitpicking here. I didn't think the score was like that great, to be honest with you. I thought the score was okay, but then, it's not this score. It's not Thin Red Line brilliance. You know what I'm saying? That stuff that's like just like takes it to a whole nother level. I thought the score was all right. It was functional, to be honest with you, for me personally. So that's kind of another reason. I would say that also, and this is spoilers for those of y'all who don't want to know more about the film. I think the film is great. Towards the end, I think it starts to run a little, not like a little long, but it starts to lose a little bit of steam. Um, and I think it's because once, of course, we get to the point of, like, we know that there's going to be an armistice, it starts to slow a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of wish that, in a way, from what I understand with the source material goes even further past just like the war. I think it goes into, the soldiers and how they adapt into civilian life and things like that. So I kind of wanted to see that aspect of it too, and maybe that could have sped past the sort of like less interesting armistice stuff. To me, again, that's a nitpick. I don't think that makes the movie terrible or bad necessarily, but that to me is a little bit of a nitpick. I thought the first 2 hours even of that film were like spellbinding. The first hour and a half especially like was just like whoa. So yeah, that's just minor, but great film. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments. If you haven't, like I said, go watch that shit. It's definitely worth your time. I think it's on Netflix from what I understand. Definitely worth your watch. And very important, like I like to watch things that to me are important. Like, again, not that every movie has to be super serious. Don't get me wrong. I like silly stuff. I like fun stuff. Movies can be about a lot of different things. But what I don't like is insincere stuff. I don't like insincere shit. I don't like lazy shit. I don't like random shit. And there's a lot of insincere, cynical, lazy shit. Cynical in the sense of like, hey, there's this audience. We know we can pimp them and make some money. Let's just make some shit that panders to them and throw in together some fake diversity, some fake this and that, and make it. That's what I mean. That's cynicism shit. Hey, I want to win an Oscar. You know what I'm saying? I want to be on the red carpet. So I'm going to put together this movie that's basically Oscar bait so I can get there. Like that kind of shit. Those movies to me are just dreck. I don't like watching that kind of shit. It's so obvious. You can see it a mile away. I like stuff that comes from the heart, that clearly means something. Again, even if it's funny, random, even if it just has to really come from a place of sincerity. And I think All Quiet on the Western Front absolutely does. Give it your watch. I recommend it. Okay? More movies to come. Peace.